Here we go. Welcome, y'all. Happy Thursday. We are here with the squad for acknowledging our elders, and it's another beautiful day. I'm excited to be joined by Journey Bimwala and Infinitae. Hey, Journey.
Hey guys, welcome back for another great acknowledging elder session. My name is Journey Bimwala. I'm a member of Friends of Concrete Pine Park, Foodway co-chair. I'm also a clinical herbalist and forager. Welcome Infinity. We are so happy to have you with us today.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. It is such a pleasure. My name is Infinitae Speights. I am currently my happiest job that I do. I am a director of community organizing for Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice. Yeah, that's the main title that I hold. Outside of that, have always been a woman of service, always served my community, always filled in a gap the way I felt like it was needed. So there's many titles that you can identify that as. So I'll say I've always been a community organizer.
um,
Awesome. And Infinitae, what plant are we talking about today? Who are you bringing into the room?
Today, we're going to bring Bluberry into the room.
One of our favorites at the Foodway.
hmm,
Yes.
And before we dive into all the juicy things we're going to talk about, let's just acknowledge who Blueberry is. So I pulled up this slide and just want to kind of show the parts of the plants, including the flowers. You can see the leaves, which are very distinct. And you can often find this plant kind of in these rocky outcroppings, often on mountains or on hillsides. They typically, actually, no, they prefer acidic soil, so they often look to grow below evergreens. But I just want to just say out loud our botanical name this week. We're talking about blueberry and the high bush blueberry because there's a low bush, like a low growing blueberry. This one's called Vaccinium corymbosum. Vaccinium corymbosum. Um, and yeah, just really excited to talk about this with everyone today. And Infinite, I'm just going to hand it back to you. Why did you bring up the blueberry?
Okay, so I chose to highlight the blueberry today because, well, the high bush blueberry, because it brings me back to a wonderful time in my life, not too long ago, to be honest. So actually, let me give you some backstory to make it all make sense. It starts with my intentional decision to be a mother. When I decided to take on motherhood and to prepare myself for what that life would be, it was very intentional. There was a lot of decision making around that as far as what we would eat, how we would operate, how we would live, what we believed in. And me being me, very much Scorpio, Scorpio, Scorpio. I'm such a questioning person. I'm inquisitive. I want to dive deep into things. I need to understand. I need to understand. I need to overstand. So for me, it was like, all right, I was taking all type of classes, including herbalism, and loved it. And I realized I had such a spiritual connection with the herbs. And actually, one of my teachers at the time would call me the herb whisperer, because it was just, again, that connection was there. But I'm like, the way that I question, I need to understand the science behind. I'm like, what's going to separate me from other people? How do I separate myself from other herbalists? Like, yes, sometimes it's experience, and your body responds, you listen, you're in tune. But at the same time, I'm like, I need to know why we say what we say. Like, how do I know that this fruit or vegetable is good? So, blueberry was the first plant that we decided to take on, and my children were very much a part of that journey. So it's very personal for me. I was attending Hostos Community College at the time, and I was a part of a program called PTS3, which basically was a way to encourage people who are undecided to into the STEM field. Now I was decided, but I'm like, I'm gonna say I'm undecided so I can gain these resources. And I did that, which put me in this wonderful program, which gave me a lot of research opportunities. So I was able to work in the labs of Lehman College and have mentors, amazing mentors to this day. So what the decision was, I'm like, all right, I need to do something that my children could be a part of. So I started to reach out to farms in New York, and started to ask questions about their blueberries. I found the farm, and it's so sad. I apologize for not remembering the name of the farm. I know it's on my poster, but it's a few years ago. I apologize. But basically, I made a decision with my children, that this is a family thing. We're going to take on this research. Mommy's the one in the lab, but you guys get to help make the decision because this is our work. So the boys helped me to decide blueberries. And at that time, again, we called different farms. It was based upon a schedule, chose a farm to go to, also collected some blueberries from one of my mentors from China. And then, blueberries that he collected that were already on site. And then I got blueberries from a local store right in the Bronx, right off of Kelly Street. And basically tested the antioxidant level of all three berries. And I'm like, I want to see the difference. So I went in automatically thinking, oh, I'm thinking the one from the farm would have been the highest quality. Not at all. It was the wild crafted one from China. So I'm like, what? Hold up. And I'm like, duh, wild crafted makes sense. So I'm like, nature, like you just got to rock with nature. So it just gave a different level of understanding. My children were the ones to pick the blueberries as you see in the image here. The boys were able to forage. It was just good times, good times. It was done myself and actually my dad was a part of the journey with us as well. And like every step of this research just brought me joy. It was a reason for me to include my family, which is why I got into this. Like that was the purpose and the foundation. Even like in my acknowledgements in the poster, I was able to thank, my married name is actually Stockton, and I was able to thank the Stockton family. That was my way to bring in the children, my way to bring in, us as a collective and a whole. So this represents, the blueberry represents a time that was pure, a time that was full of intention, joy, purpose, so many beautiful things, so many beautiful things. So that is why I chose to uplift the blueberry. Thank you guys.
That is so beautiful. Thank you, Infinitae, for sharing the story. And like, also just I'm like, my first memories were about probably the size of your kids in this image of picking blueberries. I had the access and I was able to. And those are the formative memories that led me to the place that I'm at now. So I'm just like, when I see your kids picking blueberries and incorporating even the science behind it all and like in the process, I'm like, wow, like where your son's gonna end up? Because I'm just inspired by that. But really awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love the fact that the journey of it all and what you're discovering, and like you mentioned, like, okay, I'm learning all of these things, but I want to know more. And you dug deeper. And then it's like, okay, there's all of this information, like you mentioned with herbalism, right? Like the wide range of it is big, but how do I stand out? Yeah, I know this worked for this, but I want to know the science behind it. So you took it even a step further and testing out all those various blueberries from different places. So this way you'll know exactly which one is which. Is it really, you have your backing. I love that. And it became a family thing, yeah. I love it because you're from your sons to you, everybody else, right? So much information they can learn from this, the science and non-scientific part of it. I think that's what makes it whole, bringing everything together just the way that you did. I love it.
Also, just shout out to you for like pulling together a poster, right, around this. And like, yeah, I just appreciate the shared experience with your kids and being able to see all those like really hard tasks, like pulling together a poster, doing the research, and showing that you're a boss out here doing it. It's really exciting. not to mention talk about starting good like eating habits. I'm really curious, how have your children reacted to blueberries since that experience? You said this image was from 2018, something like that.
I think it was around 2018 that we did this. So since then, okay, the funny thing is, once I completed this research, then blueberry became one of the first plants that I thought, or herbs that I thought should be, that I should start making my smoothies to sell. So I'm like, once I do my research, that's like my response to now I'm able to take it to the next level. So me and the boys had a wonderful experience making, we would make blueberries, and when I would take them to school in the morning, because at this time they were homeschooled. So then we eventually went into the school system for a couple of years. And at that time, I ended up selling, yeah, actually, I think they went to school right after this summer. And that's when I started selling like blueberry smoothies. So they would have their smoothies in the morning and they would watch me sell it to their moms. They would help promote that there was smoothies being sold. So again, I think it just became a part of the mission. As far as how they feel about the taste, the texture, to be honest, I haven't really asked them any real questions about it. It's just something that's been incorporated into our life. But I myself would be interested in finding out what they feel about blueberries today. So that's something I would definitely ask them.
I have a question. When you did the testing, what part of the blueberry did you test?
So, okay, now I don't remember, the research is not at the forefront of my mind today, to be honest. I have not looked at this poster since then. So what I do remember is if I went into the methodology, it would explain it more in there. But what we did was there was like a series of processes to be able to separate different aspects of the blueberry. So there was a lot of, if I don't know if you've ever been into like a high laboratory, but this is like a lab that is very high tech on Lehman's campus. So like there was so many different machines that I had to use, including like, I can't remember, but like ultrasonic type of machines to shake it up and make sure, and then separating different aspects. So I really don't remember today, to be very honest with you, but that's something I can get back to you with. So I don't even want to lie to you. I would have to like go through my own poster and really remember everything today. That's just my truth.
No, the reason why I asked, because you say something where, which led you to want to know, to do the lab testing to see if it really had all the things that that was said. Because some of the research that I've done is see that the fruit and the leaves, right? Because all the benefits of blueberry that we always hear about the fruit, right? It has
Oh,
all
that's
these
what you mean.
things and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It
And
was the
then
fruit.
nothing is never said about the leaves of the blueberry, which also has a lot of benefits and stuff like that. That's why I was asking, because I want to know, was it the fruit
Absolutely.
or was it the leaves?
So
Or
that's what you were questioning. I thought you were asking literally on a scientific level. It was definitely the blueberry fruit itself. I apologize. I was going too deep. Yes, it was definitely the fruit itself. So as you see, the boys collecting the blueberry fruit, and then yeah, so each variety was definitely the blueberry fruit. And like I said, it went through different processes, but it was all the fruit. But to test the antioxidant level, because that's what the test was solely on. I wasn't testing anything else. Like I had theory at the end of it, because remember I said I walked in there thinking that it would be the farmers, because I'm like, nah, farmers are on point. Like you got to be making sure this is the best. And it was like, no, I'm gonna go with the original farmer, the most high, because evidently that seems to be where it's at. Wild, what nature offered, wild crafted was the best. So yeah, I was a little shocked, but I realized some of these farmers are actually, you have to think about it. Why do humans want to consume blueberries? How many people are actually consuming blueberries because of the antioxidant levels? We hear that discussed when it comes to like promotion and advertisement, but the reality is people buy for taste. So I had to then understand that a lot of farmers are actually operating and plan and adjusting. That's not the proper language, but they're basically looking for the sweetest blueberry, a lot of them, so that they can sell it. And it's not really about the nutritional level. So that was kind of like, it was big for me, like a big bump on the head, because I'm like, if you look at a commercial and they're promoting, oh, blueberries high in antioxidant levels, and it was like, yes, now we're going as consumers to buy blueberries, but it's like, oh, that's not the blueberry I consume. That's not what that gave me. That was sugar. So then it gave me that level of understanding, so.
It's so true, because when they're doing their research to sell their product, is based on what the people would want, and people usually buy food and things based off of their taste. But then when they sell it to us, they don't sell us the taste, they sell us the nutritional value of the particular things, and then we're thinking we are getting that, but we're not getting that. We're getting our taste buds fixed.
Absolutely. You got it. That's exactly what's happening. I love the way you brought that back and explained it. That was good.
Yeah, no, it's true. I see that happen all the time. And when we think of health within our community, well, if your product is really based on taste and not necessarily what my body needs, then it changes a lot, especially once you come into that realization. It was like, oh, so I've been getting the wrong thing all this time. So I'm not even getting all of the stuff that I'm thinking. Here I am thinking I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm eating all the right stuff and things like that. But then you found out I'm actually not getting as much as I thought I was getting, so that always shocks me and pisses me off all at the same time, because I don't like to be lied to.
Absolutely, rightfully. But you know what? When we live in a society where we like to regurgitate information, and this is a problem, like I said, you take a class and you hear something and then you repeat something and you repeat it with this level of truth. And it's like, well, how do you know that that's true? What did you do to determine that that was true or false? Like, so for me, it's like, I think it just brings it back to, physician heal thyself. Like, everyone has to be in touch with their selves. Your body is going to tell you what you need. And sometimes something that repels you may be something you need. Like, I remember, if I could bring something else into the room, there was like, when I used to first ingest kale used to make me nauseous by the smell. It could be far from me. And I'm like, oh God, ooh, whatever that thing is, my body don't like it. But the reality is, I would have kale. And at that time, my kid's father used to pump kale into me. And I was like, Lord, all this man gives me is air, oranges, and kale. Like, and I'm like, I don't have anything real. And the reality is, it was the best thing for my body. Today, I love kale. I have kale all of the time. But it took at least 2 years for my body to be able to receive it. And I started to understand, maybe it's the parasites that's rejecting the kale, not me. Like, so learning to separate yourself, like, so we, again, physician heal thyself. We all have to just go deep. We all have to know who we are. We have to study. We have to research. We're in an age of information. So go get the information. It's out there.
Absolutely. You definitely have to know yourself. And that's something I stress in my classes. And even when I see clients, like, you got to know your body first, even before you go see someone on the outside, whether it's a doctor or an herbalist or like, you have to know you, because they're going to ask you a question about yourself. Well, what did you do before? What were you eating? There's all of this information that they get from you. So if you don't know yourself because you're not paying attention or you're not in tune, it becomes really hard for you to start pinpointing certain things, because you haven't been paying attention. So it's very, very important. And every time I'm foraging, that's why I love foraging, because I want what nature is making and putting together itself. That's what I want, because just like how you found out, like at the farm, with farmers, it just because it's going in a farm doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to have all of the benefit, the potential, or the nutritional whatever that you thought it was going to be. Because some trees, and it's like that with all the fruits, if a fruit is allowed to become ripe in its own plant, right, there is this last bit of not minerals, but nutrient, vitamin, that the tree, the plant itself, gives off to that fruit, right? We miss out on that because things that are that we find at the market, they have to take those fruit before they are ripe. So a lot of the fruit that we eat don't really get that last bit from the tree or from the plant itself, right? They actually get ripened off outside of their place. It's kind of like giving birth in the umbilical cord,
Yes.
right? There's still a lot of the nutrients and vitamins and mineral that the baby need that is still flowing through. And when
Had to
you
cut
cut
that
it
connection
before
early.
everything was transferred, that baby now has missed a whole lot of other things that it should have gotten.
Absolutely. I kept my placenta, so I'm following you. Definitely, I feel you. We having the same conversation. I love it. I think what you just brought into the room, you discussing that last process that takes place, that's so important. Especially like if you're in nature and you see naturally, nature will offer you fruits. You will get the fruit in its timing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
when you're foraging, you learn. It's like even when we at the foodway and we have raspberries all over, right? Because it lasts us until the fall. And I always tell people, if you tug at it and it doesn't fall, then it's not ready. Move on. Don't
Absolutely.
force it. It's not ready. When
Absolutely.
it's ready, trust me, it will give itself to you without resistance. But if you feel resistance, there's a message there. I'm not ready. Don't take me just yet. But we don't
Absolutely.
think like that. We're like, okay, what's your fruit? Your blueberry. You gotta be ready. Let me just
Absolutely. And you know what? To take that further, for everyone who this comes across and for all of us in this space currently, that's a lesson for life. Nature is such a map of life. To be able to watch nature, to understand how we should operate. The same way, you know, the fruit did not offer itself. That comes with relationships, that comes with people, that comes with all types of interactions, that comes with positions. Sometimes just fall back and be easy. When it's your time, it will come. We don't have to fight. We don't have to grab.
that is
So
true.
yeah,
That is so true. Being patient, and it's also the fact like, well, just because you're in a rush, right? Or just because you missed out on something else doesn't mean that now I have to suffer the consequences of what you missed out before. Because
that's
when
right.
nature is like, if you miss my prime time of giving you what I had, well, you're gonna have to catch me next year, buddy, because I ain't got it for
That's
you.
right. Right.
Deal with whatever you gotta deal, find another way, but this way is not
Yeah,
gonna work, it's past the time.
I love it. Yes, this is not the season, baby. All thing in season. All things in season. All things in season.
Yeah, yeah.
And the best things take time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
absolutely.
It does take time. For me, with blueberries, um, because there's been so many emphasizes on the fruit. I was just like you, and I was like, okay, I hear about the fruit, but what about the leaves, though? That was my thing. I was like, what about the leaves? And then when I did my study, I found out like, well, a lot of the benefits that you hear from that the fruit has, you find even more of that in the leaves than you do in the fruit. So then it's like, okay, so the fruit is edible medicinal, but so is the leaves. So I'll collect the leaves to make tea with it. I also do collect the flowers as well. I use all parts of the blueberry except for the roots. Um, and even when collecting with the flower that Nathan that you showed in the beginning is like, it also kind of introduced people to the different way flowers look, because most people think of flowers, they're looking for petals, right? They're looking for something specific, but like this doesn't look like the typical flowers that we are used to, but it is a flower, and in that same space, that's where the fruit is also going to be growing from. So even in harvesting the flower, you have to keep that in mind. Like this is where the fruit is going to be coming. So if you take all of the flowers, there's not going to be any fruit on that blueberry whatsoever. But I do utilize all of the parts, and I will just make some teas with it. And then if I get the fruit, I will also either tincture it outside of just regular cooking, but making it into a form of medicine where I want the emphasis on the nutritional, the minerals, all of that. That's what I want. So I start to concentrate on those things, give it to them as tea. Have a way I can just be it to the kids, I'll do it that way. And because again, they're in school, they're young, right? Their brains is still forming and still growing. So I look for those things that have a lot of brain nutrients, benefits, and things like that to give them during their years where their brain is still kind of just growing and finding themselves. So that's how I like to use the blueberry. I just collected some a couple last week actually. They are here drying. You guys can't really see, but I have some of the leaves here and some of the flowers as well. They dried out
So
by
I
now.
need some leaves. I definitely need to come and collect some leaves because to be honest with you, though I deal with both herbs all the time, I've never experienced blueberry leaves. So I'm sitting here like, wow, I was so focused on my study, I even lost track. That's beautiful. I will definitely be coming to collect some leaves.
Yeah, definitely do that. Because you know we know the benefits of red raspberry, right? Almost all women hear about red raspberry. If you have a baby, you might hear
Absolutely.
about
Yeah,
raspberry leaves, you know. And then it's kind
absolutely.
of like, well, all of the berry leaves have medicinal properties. This is like, oh, so if raspberry is that great, right? The leaves is that great. I can just think about all of the other berries, right? Because even when you're making smoothies, it always emphasizes like make sure you have some berries because berries have all of these amazing things.
Absolutely. Good cleansers.
Mm-hmm.
Infinite, I must say, we came in talking about like botanical blueberry. We talked about all the science that you've been doing and research about blueberries. And ultimately, where did it lead us? It led us to a conversation about how to treat each other and be patient with each other. I'm so grateful for this conversation. Um,
Absolutely.
I am too. I'm very grateful about this conversation because just seeing the steps and all of the things that you did where it led you to the research is like it just started something, something simple as a blueberry. It's like, you know what, I want more, but I want to know how it works. Okay, like how does it work? And I know we're getting ready to go, but it's like I always tell people the same thing. When you hear about an herb, like, you know what, this is really good for this is really good for that always remember that is that person's experience, right? And people regurgitate a lot of things like Infinitae say. So you want to know more. So you want to do your own research. And if they say this is good for headache, but you want to know, well, how does it stop my headache? By ways of what? Because there's many different ways to stop a headache. How is it doing that? Right? Because that will help you to understand how this particular herb is going to work in your body. And then if you know yourself, right, and you figured out, okay, this is going to stop my headache via muscles, but my issue is not with the muscle, is with my nerves. So that may not be immediately, oh, no, thank you. That's not the one I'm looking for. But if you don't know, you just heard headache and I have a headache, you're like, ooh, let me take that. And then you become disappointed because it's like, I still have a headache.
And you believe that it didn't work for you, but it's like, no, you have to understand it. And like you said, how it works in your body in particular, that's very important. It's just like a perfume. The
Yeah.
same way people know if you put on a perfume or cologne and it's going to smell different on everyone, your body's going to respond different.
Yeah, you got to know your own natural scent first. Is this going to match my natural scent or is it going to
Yeah.
make it smell like I don't know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, honestly, to definitely uplift Bronx River Alliance and uplift CPP, Concrete Plant Park, is like a lot of times we think that we don't understand the importance of hyperlocal. But remember, these plants are growing in the same environments that we come from, which means that's another level of a connection.
Yes. I love that. That last piece you said about connection. Yes, absolutely. And we all are growing in the same area too. Like you're worrying about the air with that plant, but you're breathing that air too. You're worrying about the water, you're drinking and washing from the we all in this together.
Absolutely. But to a level, again, I don't think we understand. Well, some people don't understand that plants have intelligence. They communicate and they speak. So as they receive, the same way you realize something is wrong with the air, they may naturally create a modification for you in support of you. So to understand the connection between the relationship with us and plants.
Oh my God, thank you so much, Infinitae. You just brought so many great conversation and things for us to really look at and a whole new perspective of all of these things. So I love this.
Yes, I mean, I echo. I'm not going to repeat, but I echo everything that Journey just said. So much gratitude and so much generosity that you brought to Concrete Plant Park, and I think about that reciprocity that exists in the space between you and the space, right, and between others in that space, and that energy exchange that occurs. So thank you for those moments and continuing to steward that space and contribute. And while our blueberries are not the strongest right now and would not necessarily encourage you to take leaves yet from these plants, we hope to rehabilitate and steward and protect these plants so that in the coming years they provide and take care of us, as we mentioned. Uh, but just a shout out to that blueberry, Mother Blueberry out
All
there.
the blueberries out there, because we actually have a lot of wild blueberries out growing in places. So this is a nice geocache. Like if you guys can get out there and if you see any kind of blueberries in your walk wherever you at, take a picture of it. Tag us in it. We want to see where you guys are seeing those blueberries. Where are the locations?
And I'll just put a plug out there. We are actively collecting soil samples to test the soils and places that we love and we play in. And so I encourage you, if you find soils that you want to be testing, to drop them off here at the Bronx River Alliance office here in Starlight Park, or you can, contact our office directly and figure out a time to drop it off. And I will say May 20th, we'll be in Shoelace Park doing a pop-up soil testing event. So you can visit us then. And on June 4th, we'll be at Concrete Plant Park doing a soil test and releasing butterflies together.
Yes.
So
One more thing before we go. Guys, I would like to highly, highly, highly encourage you guys to come to Concrete Plant Park, right? In your own timing, whenever. We actually have quite a lot of plants for you guys to forage that are readily ready, waiting, screaming, pick me. And we kind of talked about them last week, but they are still there. We still have a lot of chickweed. We have mugwort, cleavers, purple dead nettle, and many other herbs. So just come on down and have at it.
yes, and if you're, once again, trying to confirm whether or not this is the plant that you're staring at, I recommend a great app called iNaturalist. And that's just one of many apps out there that you can use to identify and correctly identify the plant that you're staring at. And like Journey said, Echo, you could tag Bronx River Alliance in them on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll take a peek and we can confirm what you're looking at. But this has been a really sweet conversation. Thank you again, Infinitae, for being present.
Yes.
Thank you. Love and gratitude. Much appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will be together soon, and join us next Thursday for another week of Acknowledging Our Elder. Bye, y'all.